I greet you with Jesus' joy, for it is in him that I live, breathe, move, and have my very being. I am so delighted that you all joined us for Unboxed on Purpose today. Not being a mistake that you tapped that button and you decided to join us today. I'm also delighted that Curtis Orloff has decided to join us, and he is definitely unboxed on purpose. We're here with Favored by the Father Ministries, and I am Barbara Arlene Fields Brehon, your host. Our featured guests share how they stepped out of their comfort zones to become unboxed. We share experiences that lead to the fulfillment of purpose. So I pray that each episode will help our audience access their authentic destiny. So, as I said, sharing with us today is Curtis Orloff. He is a geologist and an author. He's going to share with us today in his own way. And I will just allow him to tell you a little bit more about himself. He's written multiple books, not just one or two. So he'll tell you about that. And he'll tell you how we got to know each other. Good afternoon, good morning, good evening, whatever time of day it is that others have tapped in. Hey, Kurt.
Howdy. See, I'm from the South. I've been here 40 years, so I'm a Yankee though, so I'm transplanted Southerner. So
Tell everybody where you are exactly.
I'm in Lafayette, Louisiana. I have a house in New Orleans. New Orleans is my adopted hometown, though. I move back and forth from the house. I got renters in it, and then sometimes I move into it. It's a duplex. So, but New Orleans is my adopted city.
Sounds
That's it's the last unique city in the United States. The last major unique city because you're not going to change the personality of New Orleans. We still got second liners. We've got Mardi Gras. Only 4 days of the year is there not something going on in New Orleans, a parade or some event.
sounds
Yes.
like a wonderful place to be. And believe it or not, I've never been to New Orleans, but I think it's
You're
on
welcome.
my calendar. God bless you. Would you tell our audience how we met?
We met through Quippy Quill, Robert, who's just a delightful guy, and he got us together. He,
Indeed, indeed. You tell our audience a little bit more about yourself too, because I gave a very brief bio. They need to know who you are, what you do, and that sort of thing.
well, as I said, as it kind of imply, I'm a Yankee. Don't hold that against me. I didn't know who I was, so I flew down to University of Houston when I was 16, 17, and it took me 3 hours to find out I was a Yankee. I didn't know that, and from then on, I was a Yankee. I still haven't got rid of that sobriquet. But so I went to University of Houston, and it was at University. Well, I went down there to play golf for the University of Houston golf team and to study history because I wanted to be a history professor because I absolutely adored history. I wish I adored math, but I didn't. But I adored history. So, and when I was studying my history curriculum, I ran across Professor Ernest King on an evening class, and he just happened to be the head of the lunar receiving lab. He was in the news all the time, but that isn't why uh, uh, I really got attracted to geology because he was famous at the time. He was in the news all the time because he was looking at moon rocks. But he was so his enthusiasm with geology was so infectious. I It just rubbed off on me. And so history, what's geology? History of the Earth. So instead of humans, it's minerals, but it's same thing. I like old stuff. So uh, I was in ROTC. I couldn't, and I didn't. I made the mistake of not switching. Well, I had the golf team, and I had so much going on. The ROTC. I didn't switch my majors until I signed on the dotted line where my body belonged to the United States Army. So when my body belonged to the United States Army, I had to get out of college. So I had to graduate, get in the Army, and get out. And then that's when I used the GI Bill to get a degree in geology. After my golf career ended, I realized I wasn't qualified for any national tournaments. So if you can't qualify, you can't make a living. So I went back to Indiana University and got a degree in geology. And I hit a boom. And so I went into the oil field, which I thought real cool because uh, I was madly infatuated with Jack London. Between uh, my golf career deteriorating and my decided to use my GI Bill, I discovered writing. Thanks to Mr. H.L. Mencken and Jack London. I don't know, fell in love with writing. And so that's all I did was write. And so I hit the oil field and I was going to be in the oil field and write. And that's what I did. So, and I got to live on oil rigs, which is pretty cool because it's not an ordinary job. And so mostly in the Gulf of Mexico, but then I got another job with Halliburton and I got to go, well, a sophisticated job. I ran very sophisticated tools, $100,000 a day jobs, and I got to work overseas in Muslim countries, Middle East mostly, in India, in Malaysia. And I spent 6 years in Saudi Arabia, the deserts of Saudi Arabia, and I absolutely loved being in the deserts. Then I got to work in East Africa. I worked there for a year. I worked in Angola, in Gabon. I was 30 miles from where the that woman who wrote about gorillas in the mist. I was 30 miles from where that was, where she wrote about them. We had gorillas on our rig side. So I just love that. You know, I'm just a boy. Boys love to be dirty. Boys love to go out and get dirty, and I've never stopped being a boy. So, but but that ended. I ended up in an office in downtown Houston, and I had to look real pretty, and I had to keep my shoes shine, and then. So I did my office time, made about four times as much money, but I wasn't getting dirty. I had to look beautiful, you know. Every day I had to look wonderful. Well, I had to look wonderful as an army officer too. Uh, but then the oil field crashed. But in the meantime, I was writing books. When I hit the oil field, it was oil field. Still did golf, of course. You trust me. No male ever gives up the hope of being a professional athlete. He can be 70 and he's still saying, "I can still do it." No male does. It's not in our blood to quit. We may,
You are so comical. And while you're talking about all of these things, I want to pause for a second and have you to go back to your childhood and teen years and tell
uh,
us about your passion in life. You told us a lot about the things that you've done and all of that. I'm going to pick a little bit more out of that background of yours and go all the way back
okay.
to your boyhood. You say you're still a boy. You're just a boy.
Yeah.
So, what was your passion in life as a boy?
Oh my God, my room was my spaceship. I had my own room, and it was my spaceship. It was full of models, especially models of sailing ships and the rigging. Had my toy guns. I had a bunch of friends. This is back in the days before the internet and anything. Boys went out there. Parents kicked you out of the house, locked the door, and you didn't come back until the street lights went down, and you had to go home to eat dinner. So I was always outside, and but when I was inside, I was in my little room, and then I was reading my history books. I was one of those boys that always loved reading about World War II. I was an expert at World War II. My dad fought in it, but I was the expert, and I just after reading, then I read Gibbon's Rise and Fall of the Roman Empire, which I just loved reading about history. So I lived in my own little dream, my own little world. I was an Eagle Boy Scout though, so I did get out and get dirty as an
Yeah.
Eagle Boy Scout, and so I always had I guess, active imagination. I wish I would have. My parents gave me these toys how to make a Alexander Graham Bell telephone,
Hmm.
but I you know it just didn't click. The only thing that clicked with me was wasn't even writing. It was just history. I didn't even like writing very much, but it was just history. That's the only thing that really got passionate about.
We're going to
Yeah.
sit right there for a minute because you say you didn't like writing, but okay,
No.
you are an author. And
Yeah.
how many books have you published?
Well, I published four. I've written 10, but there's some of them are so
Okay.
bad. Some of them are so bad. I don't want to. I don't want them published. I had to
Tell
learn.
us
It took.
tell us about the books that you published and what made you decide to publish the first one.
Oh my goodness. Well, first of all, I started writing before the age of the internet, where you actually had to go get a real agent. Now you just pay. You can pay anyone to be your agent, but now You had to write uh, query letters, and I got a couple agents for two books, Keys to the Vidor, which I put a yuppie on an oil rig, but it's about the oil industry. You actually learn everything in it. You'll actually learn about the oil industry. Robert wants me to write a nonfiction book about it. I started one years ago about the oil industry, which is a part of Americana people don't know anything about. I guess it's just not popular for some reason. That's just he calls it Robert calls it the Mandela effect. It's just in the air that it's not popular. It should be because without oil, you wouldn't like your life without oil. Tell me, trust me.
So you wrote a book about a man that did what now?
Oh, yuppie! I got
A yuppie.
a bratty little yuppie had to go on an oil rig, kind of like Captain's Courageous, and he had to learn to get along with a rough crew, and that crew was rough. I mean, it was really, really stereotypical Southern.
Okay. What about your
And
second book?
oh, the main book I wrote. I mean, these are the published ones. I've written a bunch of others. Wrote one about the army.
Well, we can talk about the four that you actually published because
Okay,
people might want to get their
okay,
hands on those.
okay. Keys to the Vidor is about the oil field. You'll learn about the oil field. And you'll learn about Southern. You'll learn about New Orleans uh, social life. You'll actually learn because what I write about happened. And it's true. So you'll never. I don't think there's another book ever written about what it's like to be on a drilling rig. Because I spent 18 years in the Gulf of Mexico, so you really get the real skinny on what it's like on a drilling rig in the
Uh-huh.
early 1980s. It's different now, but the early 1980s. So that's Keys to the Vidor. But the main book I wrote was called Thunder in the Wind, and I'm from Indiana. Indians and there were arrowheads in my backyard because we were in the Little Calumet, which is a tributary to the Illinois River, which is a tributary to the Mississippi River. And
Mhm.
so, and I was an Eagle Boy Scout, and Boy Scouts are built on Indian age societies, and we'd go to powwows. So just writing about Indians is just normal. I mean, I just grew up in it, in that environment. So I wrote about, and I knew about the Tecumseh, who united the tribes. It was only an hour from Prophetstown, where Tecumseh lost his battle of Tippecanoe to the future president, who lasted 1 month in office, where he died of pneumonia after giving a overly long inauguration speech. And William, and so that's the only president that came from Indiana. Anyway, I was an hour from Tippecanoe, and I was an hour from Starbucks. I mean, Indians are my life when I was growing up, so writing a book about Indians is pretty natural. And, and so, also, one of my major themes about deculturization, which is going on now,
Mhm.
uh, when, throughout history, countries or one country conquers another, and they just deculturize them. And so, that problem of Indian deculturization really fascinated me. So I explained it in the context of one family in the Assiniboine tribe, which no one heard of because they gave up real quick. They went to Fort Assiniboine and Fort Belknap, um, in northeast Montana. But
Well, we're going to talk about how colorful you are at expressing the thoughts that you have about various things. And I know that the
mm,
audience will pop in and click the links that we're going to put up there that show where to find your books. And so, how
mm.
can people find the books that you've written?
Kurt Orloff books.
Say that again.
Kurt Orloff books.
Kurt Orloff books,
Right.
Orloff.
Oh,
And
I'll do it. I'll give you the military alphabet: Oscar, Romeo, Lima, Oscar, Foxtrot, Foxtrot. That's a that's
bless
our
your
military
heart.
alphabet. Yeah.
A lot of people have Amazon links and those kinds of things.
Oh, it's
So
there too. Kurt Orloff. Yeah.
we'll make sure to put those links across the screen when we do the editing. I want you to talk a little bit about a time in your life because we are unboxed on purpose and we can tell that you are an out of the box kind of guy. Is there a particular time, crucial time in your life where you want to share with us that you stepped outside of a box to pursue your authentic purpose?
Oh, I don't. Honest to God, I don't think there's ever been a time. I've always known that I'm not the final say in anything. You know, I I very early on know I can make mistakes. So I'm not one of those, oh, I don't make a mistake or I don't apologize. I always know I can make a mistake. And I always knew that I was never the smartest guy in the room, but I debate people. Uh,
Ah,
uh, my mom was great. It was all because of my mother. My mom and I, after we ate breakfast, we solved the problems of the world from 9:30 to noon every day when I'm home. When we can't, when I'm with her, we always saw. My mom was. That's where I got my intellectual desire to debate. Because mom and I, this is my mom. My dad did not so much, but was
yeah,
always my mom, and so I
understand
think
that.
that's where it came from. That's where it
Oh,
came from.
what do you consider to be your ultimate purpose in life?
Well, I think I'm. If someone read Thunder in the Wind, it would really make you think because uh, life is never black and white, but you've got to make a decision. And so, in people like C.S. Lewis, you read great. You can't navigate life without reading great minds. I read C.S. Lewis. Uh, yeah, and all these people are great, and they've withstood the test of time, and there's a reason for it. All these, I'm like my buddies to talk, waxing uh, voluminous about this guy who wrote this self-help book, and it was just out of Plato. It's the same thing about a Plato. You read Plato's dialogues. These people are famous for a reason, and so they guide you. And their parents were good, but they weren't the final say. And then I realized, I know I certainly am not the final say.
And I
I
believe
knew.
that
Okay.
God divinely created us
Right,
and
right.
preordained before He even put us in the womb, because that's what I read in the Bible, and
He
I believe
gave us a personality. He gave us a
And so,
personality
in
before we.
regard to all of that, I wanted to know what you consider your purpose in life to be.
Yeah, well, I had certain predilections. Well, I'm just saying I don't believe in tabula rasa, which the environment can change you. I never believed that. I popped out with all kinds of prejudices, and I knew, and you need Christianity to civilize you, really. Uh, you do, so you follow the precepts of Jesus to civilize you. But I knew that for some reason. I knew that. Uh, I always worried about being a narcissist or showing any of those traits, but I'm always checking myself, and I always knew that. But so then I knew that other people, no matter who they are, always knew stuff I didn't know. So I'd always ask, even as a little kid, I'd always ask other people. I became annoying, so I was an annoying little kid, and I guess I'm an annoying adult, so I haven't changed. But uh, So I guess, and it's because of history. Apparently that's probably why I love history. You're always learning about people, but I really got I got disenchanted with history because it's always about great people. I want to know how the people lived. I don't
That's what
know.
we
I
want to
know.
know.
Yeah.
And that's what we want to know about you, how you live, how you
Hmm.
think, and the things that motivated you. And so, talk to us about what you wish you had known probably 40 years ago. What do you wish you had known 40
Well,
years ago that you didn't know then?
that I suck as an investor. The best thing, I'm always a saver, but I should have just put my money in back then, yeah, all mutual funds had front loading, but I just would have just ignored it. I gave it a shot. I did. Oh well, I didn't do that well, but I was a speculator. I was a day trader, and I realized, oh no, no, thank you. No, no, no. So other than that, well, I had to do it to find out I suck at it. How do you know if you suck at something if you don't try to do it?
But you
So,
tried, and
oh yeah, 30
you kept
years. Yeah.
moving, and here you
Yeah,
go.
I had
As a older adult doing the things that you do,
unfortunate.
with
Yeah,
oil rigging and
yeah,
writing books. You're a
yeah,
history lover, history buff, and all
yeah.
those things come together. in terms of everything. So give some great advice to generations who are yet unborn that will help them to stay in a place where they don't ever get stuck in a box.
Uh, you've got to have some self confidence, and the only way self confidence is actually achieving something. I did it with golf. I won junior tournaments, and I know I can't compete now, but I know how I won junior tournaments. I know how much effort I put into it. I know it's just like studying for a test. When you go to take a test, you're confident that you have command of the material. And I don't think you can get confidence unless you do something like that. Unless you actually achieve something. You can't cheat in getting confidence. You've got to accomplish something. And sometimes people don't, but you just do your best. You know, and I mean do your best, not just say you do your best. Well, I'll give it a shot. No, not good enough. My mom would say,
Right.
give it the old college try. Uh, and I knew when I failed, I knew why I failed. I lost confidence. When I lose
Mhm.
confidence in myself because I had some bad school years. And that's because I didn't. Got kicked out of all the advanced classes because I just lost confidence in myself. And so when I'm worried about something, I go, okay, we're not going to revert back to 10th grade geometry class, okay? I know I lost confidence in myself in 10th grade geometry class. So let's not do that. And the way to get confidence is just break everything up in the itty bitty parts, the
Yeah.
itty bittiest parts, and learn that itty bitty part. And when you know that itty bitty part, go to the next itty bitty part. And so, no, and then just so long as you know something, you have confidence that you know something. So I think that's it. But I think all kids are born with a personality, and like Plato said, one of his dialogues, children. Well, uh, Plato wasn't a scientist, of course, but he said children are uh, have knowledge when they're born. And that was in one of Plato's dialogue. He had one of his slave boys, they had slaves back then, of course, knew the Pythagorean theorem and he never studied it. I think we're born that way. I mean, we're born knowing stuff. And don't let anybody put stuff, tell you how to be. You know your personality.
Yes.
Get confidence in it. You can't get confidence unless you achieve something, even if it's itty bitty. Get
Right.
confidence in it. And then don't let people push you around. Don't let people tell you how to. Don't let people tell you how to think. Uh, like I lived in my little fantasy world as a kid, putting together models and playing, reading all those books. Oh, I played Avalon Hill War Games. I don't know if anyone knows what those are, but I just love my Avalon Hill War Games. They recreate famous battles and famous campaigns, and so of course it's military. Uh, have confidence in yourself that
Hmm.
you don't need. I would say the best record, the worst or best, however you want to say it, of human beings is they're worried about what other people think of them.
Yeah.
I would say that is the worst. They have to be part of the popular term now is tribe. They have to be in good standing of the tribe. And but you see all these, all our superheroes, the cop that breaks the rules. You ever see the show House? House is always breaking the rules and making Cuddy mad as hell. You ever see House?
No.
Oh, that's a TV show. It's the
And
main
so I'm not
characters.
going to have you turn this into an interview with me. We're going to keep it talking
Okay.
about you so
Well, I
you
was
can
just saying.
share with our guests or with
Yeah,
our
that's
audience.
Yeah, the most important thing is just don't let other people push you around. But you will if you don't have confidence in yourself. And the only way to get confidence is achievement, even the little bittiest achievement. Like I keep
Yeah.
referring down to a golf tournament I won when I was 17 years old, and I keep referring. Well, remember how you I beat 150 people, and remember how you did it. You just kept plugging away. You just kept playing your own game, plugging away, not getting nervous, just dealing it. And that puts me through the rest of my life. The attitude I had then, I maintained through the rest of my life. Just one step at a time. You know what to do. You know how to do it. You got to prepare yourself, and so you keep on doing it. And then writing's the same thing. Anyone wants to write a book, because people say, "Oh, writing's no big deal." Okay, great. Here's a piece of paper. Here's a pen. Get after it.
So
Have
you
fun.
that is interesting because I find writing fascinating because I'm an author myself, as many people know. And so you said when we were talking about a title for the show today that life is a classroom. Tell
Yes.
us more about how that relates to what you've already talked about, and then we'll get have some concluding remarks.
Well, everyone you meet tells you stuff you don't know. I mean, even some guy who's doesn't look like much. I start talking to him. Oh my God, he was a captain in Way during the Tet Offensive. I mean, he's just an old guy. Just like a beat up old guy. But he was a captain in Way during the Tet Offensive, and he was with a orphanage, and he helped kids in an orphanage in Vietnam, of course. Way and. He's talking about wanting to go back and help that orphanage. Everyone's got a life story. People have know and done stuff you haven't. So everyone's a teacher.
And
I
I
mean,
love that. I love
yeah.
that. That's one of the reasons why I really wanted to have you on the show because everybody does have a story. Everybody does have something that they can share and teach. And with you being an author, with you being a geologist, with you being a history buff, and now I know a golf player, semi pro, I will call you a semi pro because
Was. Was.
you did win something
As a
and
kid.
all those delightful things about you. And so,
Hmm.
is there anything else that you would like us to know in closing about your work? Yes, I'm very curious as to what you would say about another person who might be interested in becoming a geologist. Is there any advice that you would give to a person
Oh, wow.
who would want to do what you do?
Well, a lot of people go into ecology. The oil field is getting real efficient. Uh, Petroleum geology was the only way to make a lot of money that I know of, but it's getting more and more efficient. Used to have 1,000 rigs running. Now there's only 580. It's really hard, and uh, of course you have to have a master's to get into it now. And but it's fascinating work, and the thing is you get to go all over the world. I worked in Brunei. I worked in all of Borneo, and Malaysia, India, all over the Mid East, the western part of the Persian Gulf, not in the eastern part, not Kuwait. But it's, I would just say it's a field that's really getting smaller and smaller.
Mm-hmm.
So I really wouldn't. Teaching geology is fun. I mean, it's just how to make it economic for you.
Right.
That's the hard part about chips because everything's getting more efficient. You can't believe how more efficient the oil field is.
I
It's just
couldn't
massively more efficient.
I could not imagine. But Mr.
Yeah.
Curtis Orloff, we are so grateful to you that you decided to be a part of Unbox on Purpose today. And I'll let the audience know that we were chatting in the room to talk about whether or not we would want to do this. And I normally have guests to schedule a time. And you said, well, can we do this today? And so here we
Yeah.
are getting it all done in one day. And I thank you so much for that. But we are just about out of time.
Oh, it's too
And I
bad.
want to say thank you for your time today and allowing us to get together and chat. Any closing remarks?
Uh, yeah, I could say this. I was in a at a event where we had three juries listen to um, a case that's ongoing, and we had there's 36 people, three juries of 12, and we listened to a case, and we listened to the defense lawyer, and oh my gosh, the lady got hit in an accident. She deserves money. And the first defense lawyer just made it sound like she's a poor woman. Oh, the poor thing. Oh, she deserves $10 million. And then we listened to the prosecution, uh, or the, the the lawyers on the other side, and they filled in a lot of holes the defense lawyer left out, and they gave us another viewpoint. Okay, so That shows me the importance of cross examination.
Mm,
That's what I learned early on. Like a lot of the main cause of problems is people won't debate you. If you say something they don't like, they curse you, they dismiss you, they say they're offended, but they won't debate you. And that is the linchpin of a civil society is cross examination. And so then I'll try to be brief. We retired to our juries, the 12 of us, and we were deciding how much money this woman should get. And our 12 juries, you couldn't imagine the more diverse people, all different kinds, ages, ethnicities, uh, races. And we, honest to God, and I don't know what politics, I guess both left and right, but we came within $10,000 of it. I mean, we came to an amount of $10,000. So we all 12 of us, totally diverse, agreed on how much the woman should get.
mm-hmm.
After we listened to the cross, so it stunned me because I thought we'd get wildly different amounts for the lady. No, we were pretty much all in the ballpark. So that just shows us how alike we are, even though we have these superficial differences.
Yeah, we have superficial differences, but yet at our core, we are beings that are the same. In
Right. And
our
we,
inner core, we
Mhm.
are definitely the same. And so that's what we do on this show, talk to ordinary, everyday people from all walks of life and talk about times when they want to share how they either stepped outside of their boxes of confinement, or as you shared, you didn't really have one because you've always been the type that will go out and just do whatever it was that pleased you because you're just a boy. Thank you again
I
for
got dirty fingernails, I'll bet you.
today.
Yeah,
We're not
they're
going to
not
worry about
clean.
your fingernails today. We're
Yeah.
just going to thank you so much for being
Okay.
with us today. And as we turn to our listening audience, we want you to join us every Thursday, well, every week for Unboxed on Purpose. I said Thursday because we release them on Thursdays, but once I upload them to my YouTube channel, Favored by the Father Ministries, on YouTube, they're always there. We have it also on our Facebook page, on our LinkedIn page, and it will also be on Spotify and most podcast platforms. We're sharing experiences that shape our future rather than our now. We're looking into the future and evolving like butterflies coming out of a box of confinement because there's no reason to be held back and held down. We want to love, we want to be lifted to lofty, immeasurable heights in the Lord. We want you to fulfill your purpose. We want you to bloom wherever you are planted, and we want you to remain favored by the Father. God bless you, and I hope you tap in next week. Thank you for joining us.